So again, we just want to welcome you all to the fourth discussion of the series on Not So Pretty. My name is Dr. Dede Teteh. I'm one of the co-principal investigators of the Bench to Community Project, along with Dr. Lindsay Trevino. I'm an assistant professor of public health at Chapman University. She is an assistant professor at City of Hope Comprehensive Cancer Center. So we're doing work around exposures, specifically focused on Black women from a community perspective, as well as the laboratory perspective, and testing some of the chemicals found in our everyday products, specifically focused on hair products like parabens, which are preservatives, and their influence on breast cancer cell lines in the laboratory. So lots of things that we are doing on the back end, and we are so excited to have Dr. Astrid Williams here from Black Women for Wellness, who is the manager for their environmental justice program, correct? And she is doing some amazing work in the space of environmental justice, environmental beauty justice, and we're just gonna get right into it. Like, she shared a little bit of information before the recording started, but that's okay. We're gonna share some additional context, perspectives after this conversation. But I wanted to start off with let's talk about your hair journey. Right, so the conversations that took place in the video really spoke to Black women's journey around their hair, how it's connected to our identity. Oftentimes, Eurocentric ideals of beauty doesn't necessarily celebrate what we may look like or how we bring ourselves into workplaces or in some of our community places. But however, we still show up in our full authentic selves. So let's kind of start a little bit of slowly before we jump into like the heavy hitting discussions around endocrine disrupting chemicals in our products. Talk a little bit about your hair journey. So I see here that you're rocking, it looks like you started your locks.
Yes, I did.
From a year ago. So what's going on with you? Let's talk about your hair journey from that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, let's get into it. So as the I guess movie would show, that towards the end that, often women aren't celebrated or either felt to, feel a certain way in the professional work environment. And for a number of years, we've conformed to that standard. And obviously with the Crown Act, being relevant now, to have better protections for, people of color to wear their hair in their most natural state. And so that's why I was like, wow, for a number of years, I thought, if you had to wear your hair straight. And as we know, working in public health, we want to, do things that are, most, practical and mindful of our health. And yes, wore my hair straight for a number of years and with relaxers. And it, kind of came to that crossroads. It's like, well, how am I going to be an advocate and promote, health and wellness and safety if I'm not doing my own part? And also I'm a part of that, statistic as well, so just looking at, ways that I could wear my hair, natural and feel comfortable. And for me, it was locks, and starting the journey that I felt was, most natural for me. And so I've been loving the process. And so, yes, it's been about a year out now, and it's been really good to be able to know that I'm reducing my toxin loads by the, styling it, but also the products that I use. It's not much that, needs to be done. So yes, really, happy with the choice that I've made.
I love that. So I'm going to piggyback off a couple of things that you said. The Crown Act, it was passed here in California in 2019, and it was led by then Senator Holly Mitchell. Can we just talk a little bit about the idea that you could indeed, before 2019 in California, and now it was just passed by the US House of Representatives last March of this year, 2022. So can we talk a little bit about the idea that for you starting your locks, if you would have walked into certain spaces in some states, you could have gotten fired because of the way that your hair is growing out of your scalp. Like, the video alluded to that. Like, what were some of your thoughts when you found out about just that? So as
Yes.
Black women and as other individuals that don't conform to Eurocentric ideals of beauty, you could indeed, like your money could be impacted by the way that your hair is growing out of your scalp.
Yes, and to add to that, not only as adults, but also children, policing our children too, as well, and being in the, school institutions and things of that nature, them being reprimanded for wearing their hair, a certain way. So that, not to take away from that. So it's also, a systemic process or a problem, I should say, that, we should look at, on a more larger scale, not just adults, because as adults, we can defend ourselves, for that. But as a child, that's something that, is a whole nother, story that they shouldn't have to, go through and, choose to fight that battle or the challenge of, being able to wear their hair naturally. And so to your point, and thinking back, prior to the Crown Act being enacted, is that, yeah, it was not a safe space, right, in certain, environments or, professional arenas to be able to wear your hair naturally. And, it's a cultural, it can be cultural thing, whether you choose to wear your hair in, locks, bantu knots, even braids, which is something that, is so, staple within our, culture to wear that. But that might have been deemed as not being acceptable. So just to imagine that, yes, that it can impact your, your ability to be able to, provide for yourself and for your family is just wild. Yes.
It's wild. And really, Black Women for Wellness, along with then Senator Holly Mitchell, led the way towards getting the Crown Act passed here in California. So before the recording started, again, Black Women for Wellness is committed to the healing, education, and supporting of Black women and girls, as you mentioned. So I want to talk a little bit more about the work that you all have been doing in this space, really since 2009 was one of the earliest records that I found on your website related to the natural evolution of the One Hair Story, which was a 5-year study that you did with not just Black women, but really focused on hairstylists. And that's where I want to pivot the conversation a little bit. So with all of us having our own hair journeys, we all have gone to salons. Like I was getting a perm before the age of 8 because my mom couldn't deal with my very kinky 4C hair, et cetera. And I've gone through my own personal hair journeys. I've used a lot of products. I've used relaxers, and kind of like since 2014, did my third big chop because I did it one time, didn't work out, didn't know how to deal with it, tried to do it again, still didn't know how to deal with my hair. So I was like, okay, let me start the third time. And it was really because of a project that was also ongoing, Cost of Beauty, that kind of made me look at my products. So let's talk a little bit more about, we talked about kind of the historical relationship with Black women and their hair, the importance of that relationship. With that relationship, we also know that we use certain products to get our hair to look a certain way. So you've reduced kind of your product usage along with getting your hair locked. I've worked on reducing my product usage since going natural. So let's talk a little bit about what are some of, kind of going back to the video, they talked about health impact of these products. A lot of it was focused on Diva Curls, but again, Diva Curls is one example of the industry issue with the lack of regulations in cosmetic products. So let's talk about some of the harmful chemicals related to not just the consumer, but also our hairstylists, folks that are, sometimes our big sisters, our therapists. So let's talk a little bit about some of the work that Black Women has done in the space of stylists, supporting stylists, and then also Black women consumers in this space.
Absolutely. So I would say number one is that creamy crack, right? The sodium hydroxide, which I'm sure we all, know, all too familiar. As you stated, your mother used it on you at a early age. I probably got my first relaxer when I was 12. And if you think of the trajectory of women that over the period of time and that building up in our system, and the toxins overall, and that's not to say other things that we're coming interface with as well with the products that we're using, if you have any other underlying conditions. So all of that has a cumulative effect on our bodies, and so over a course of time, that's not good. And so yes, having to make the, the strong decision to, not, choose to get the relaxer. And you mentioned the big chop in the community, the natural hair community. There's so many ways to do it. I chose to gradually, start, growing my hair out, which you can do, and just cutting it off and stop getting relaxers. Some of the going back to the Natural Hair One Story document that we have, it gives tips. And so even spacing out the number of time, or the length of time in between getting chemical treatments is another way to go. If you still in the interim want to use it, and over the period of time make that decision to eventually, completely, remove that from your hair care routine. Using, heat instead of using chemicals is another way. So, you can blow dry your hair and straighten it. Also, if you're old school, press and comb as well does it. So those are some alternative choices, or either wearing it naturally. And I love how the movie did make the distinction between the natural hair and the curly hair, movement, because curly hair, yes, you don't necessarily have to be Black, to be in curly hair. And I love how the moderator of the video said that the natural hair is ours, it's our journey, it's our evolution. And so, yes, you explained it well. It takes a while to do, our natural hair in our most natural state, if you have, different varying textures for that. And so products and, knowledge and how to manage your hair is definitely going to be key. So I'll stop there.
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. Now I'm going to drop some of the resources that Black Women for Wellness has on their websites. Don't worry, you don't have to remember some of these, but Dr. Williams kind of alluded to some of these. Black Going Green was one of the publications that they have on their website that gives you some tips on how to get some of those products that you love in a green state. So essentially using more natural products that you can find in your kitchen, so to speak, to get the style and look that you want. They also have a ton of checklists. So they have a toxic-free beauty checklist that you can also reference as well. 14 ways to reduce your exposure tip card, which is a lot of the information that she just shared with you, using less, finding alternatives. There are some questions that we have from folks. So I see here, Collins just put in the chat, I got my first relaxer at 5. Me too, sis. Like, trust me, like we're right there with you. And even though we kind of may not necessarily have had the choice when we were 5 years old because our moms were dictating what we can and could not do, we do have the choice now as adults to make different choices that can inform better health outcomes for all of us and our families. So there's a question here, Dr. Williams: if companies lie to consumers, blame the consumers for adverse reactions, and refuse to be honest about what is in their products, how do consumers know who to trust? Do you want to?
Yes, that is a good one, because yes, oftentimes we say that, consumers, when they're going to, your local retailer, you think because it's on the shelf, obviously it has to be safe, and that's not the case. As we know, as we, are advocating for a number of reasons, as we can, imagine how it impacts our health. And so I would say some of the resources that were mentioned on there is like Detox Me. EWG has one, as well as Claria. And so you can look up to see on there, what are some of those toxins in there. We have a Chem card as well, but, using the resources that are available out there for the lay community. I know it can be challenging if you're not well versed in reading those, but you can look them up and see which some of those chemicals, like the endocrine disruptors, phthalates, and parabens and things of that nature, so you can make a determination on whether or not the product is safe. So I would also say you can't leave it up to the manufacturers or those that produce the products, because at the end of the day, they're looking at their bottom line, and selling these products to us. And I would like to note that we're spending a lot as Black women, over $8 billion each year, on a whole class for beauty, whether that be hair care or beauty aids. And so we're spending quite a bit, and so we do need to hold these companies to the carpet and making sure that they're more safe for us in use.
Amen to that. So just a few things. So we want to, this is not a conversation to scare you, but we do want you to be informed about what's happening. So in the United States, we have over 80+ year bill that protects, quote unquote, that governs our cosmetic industry. It's over 80 years old. It's 2.5 pages. It's banned 11 chemicals that have been shown to have detrimental health outcomes. 11. So if you want to compare that in the United States to the 1,300 plus chemicals of concerns that have been banned in the European Union, that will give you some indication of what you're dealing with. Like Dr. Williams said, companies are trying to make money. Your health is not their top priority. So you essentially have to do it yourself until we can get better laws passed that regulate the cosmetic industry, period. So we have to do better. So there are a few things that Dr. Williams said that other speakers have alluded to as well, is reducing the amount of products that you use. There are ways that you can also support the safer beauty package, safer beauty for all package. We've shared some of the link from Black breast cancer prevention partners with you in previous episodes. We'll continue to share that link. If this area is important to you, if this topic is important to you, we just really want to encourage you to click the link, add your name to the list. It'll send it directly to your congressperson, and they will be notified that this topic is of importance to you. So excellent. So we have a couple more questions. Do you have any insights into how companies have responded to the Crown Act? Have they been supportive, or is it still going to be an uphill battle?
Well, I think here in California, it's not up for debate because it is law. However, it's not law federally across the nation. And so that's what we're working, in partnership with other organizations to make sure that they have the, same, equitable, treatment in terms of, protections for all individuals across the US. And so traditionally, as you can think of the military, being one of those institutions that do have, very strict and rigid, hair standards, and that can be rightfully so, in terms of protection, when they're out, at war, or, within duty, we'll say that. But if it's, worn, appropriately in like a bun, let's say that, what's the issue there? So there's just more, I think, pushback in terms of, whether or not it's deemed as culturally appropriate, more so than if it's going to interfere or impact the work. So we're all about safety here. Yes. So let's not be, let's make that clear, is that yes, if it's going to impact your duty, yes. But if you can wear it in a style where it's, free from harm or, anything like that, there should not be any issue there, for that. And so we want to make sure that everyone has the same protections.
Awesome, thank you. Another question for you. Can you please tell, okay, I can actually answer this. Can you please tell us about the 3 clean apps mentioned in the film? You can go ahead and answer it. And then we'll also send some information on those apps and some additional ones after the episode as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about what about some of the apps that you use to select the products since you've transitioned to live?
Yes.
What did you start using? Let's do it from that perspective. And then
yes. So yes, what was mentioned in there is the EWG. I do actually have that on my phone. It's one that you can go in there and look, you can type it up by the brand name or either the product, and it'll give you a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, the worst, and 1 being, the most healthiest. Ideally, we want to be under 5 or less. Most ideal would be 3 or under, and that's in the green realm, so you can know it's color coded. Detox Me is another one that is linked, to that site. And then Clearia is a good add-on that you can put on your browser. So when you're going to purchase these, as we know, we do online shopping, it'll, link to that to tell you or not whether or not, those particular, products that you're purchasing, whether they're, safer. I like to use the word safer because nothing is completely safe. So we want, to put that disclaimer out there. But in terms of products, I like to keep a really, low load on myself as well, because, product buildup is real. And, if you don't really need it, then, why use it? So, water is a good moisturizer. So that's one of the #1 things that within the natural hair community is that, hair is really dry. So just good old plain water. Also, I know someone mentioned me, what I use also, I use aloe vera juice, which you can, get from your, local, store as well. Aloe vera juice is another good, one, mix it together in a spray bottle. But essential oils is another one that you can use as well. Getting back to some of the toxins, fragrance, we didn't talk about that, but that's another one that has a lot of, synthetic ingredients in there, and phthalates is, what's the potential hazard to that. And so we want to make sure I have a helper here today. Say hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Say hi.
Hi.
And so if we're looking at fragrance, and so using essential oils is another key one, which is natural, that we can use in our hair care products. So just being a savvy consumer and reading labels and, seeing what's works best for you, because what works best for you may not work for someone else. And so you just have to do it through trial and error.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. So I'm going to jump. Do you have like a few minutes past the 6 o'clock hour so we can
yes
going and record some of your responses to this? So perfect. So last week, if you attended, or even this week, what we'll do is we'll share some of the recap emails from the past episodes, and it includes the link to the 3 clean apps that were mentioned in the video, in addition to Think Dirty, which is another application that you can use to get a better idea of the types of chemicals that are in your personal care products. EWG, like Dr. Williams just mentioned, and then also Detox Me. One of the cool things about Detox Me, and we had a conversation with Dr. Robin Dotson last week, who is from Silent Springs, is they actually provide ways for you to make alternative products that you use on a daily basis as well. So really, really great resources for you to get started. And then we have a question here about what are the 11 chemicals that you mentioned. I put a link in the chat for those that are interested. So for example, some of them are methylene chloride, mercury compounds. We have hexachlorophene. I'm not a chemist, so I'm not even going to try to pronounce some of these words, but the link is right there in the chat for you for the 11 chemicals that have been prohibited from ingredients that should not be used in our cosmetic products. Again, the comparison is here in the United States, there's 11. In California, we have 24, which was a couple of bills that were passed in 2020. European Union comparison is over 1,300 chemicals of concern. And then our Jasmine is also including some of that information for you in the chat as well. So again, we will follow up with you all and provide this information. I love this question, and I'm going to do a shameless plug for the Black Beauty Project that we've been working on with Black women. I keep mixing up breast cancer prevention partners and Black Women for Wellness for some odd reason. So there's a question in the chat from Kim, and I've seen Kim's name for all 5 of these sessions, I believe. So Kim, thanks so much for your support and coming back. So while we research ingredients, as you suggested, is there a list of hair shampoo and conditioners, for example, that we could purchase today that is safe? So I'm going to give you this opportunity, Dr. Williams, to kind of share a little bit about a list that is coming soon in collaboration with some really cool and awesome folks in this space. So do you want to share a little bit about that list?
Yes, and so also this is not the list that I'm referring to, but if you want to go online, there is a Black Artesian, website that has a clearinghouse for, natural and clean Black-owned businesses. But the list that we want to, specifically talk about is the one by what is it? Help me out here. I'm trying to think.
Breast Cancer Prevention Partners.
Cancer Prevention Partners, which a lot of us are a part of, in making sure that these products and brands are vetted. And so there will be a list that will come out that consumers can go to see if they're brands that they like, that they choose to use, that are on there. And so they have been, as we say, vetted for having no potential, toxins or hazards in that. And I believe there are over 70 brands that are on this list. And so you can go on there and it'll have a seal of approval, knowing that, these brands have been, researched to make sure that the whole line of products. So it's not just like how I was mentioning, a conditioner here or a shampoo there. These brands across the line have, all of their products that they are, selling that are, clean and safe for use. And so that's really good that you can feel safe in knowing that these brands that are, are safer for you to use.
Love it. So stay tuned. I know folks ask me all the time, well, what are you using? It's like, well, I'm different from you, and my hair texture is different. So what I use may not necessarily work for you, but we do have some opportunities. So I totally forgot about Black and Green. It's an amazing resource. They use the Environmental Working Group Skin Deep database as well. They have information on their website to support your consumer selection efforts. So they did the work for you. So they vetted these products specifically for ingredients that are chemicals of concern, and it's Black and Green. So it's owned by Black women. So y'all celebrate that. Go support our sister. And then in addition to that, you get to get safer and use, safer products, because you're right. We can't really use safe, but they could be safer.
Yes.
So awesome. So thank you so much for those resources. And let's see, almost done. Thank you for holding in there with us. I'm happy to get this good information / education, especially since Cancer Journey 3.5 years ago. Well, we definitely want to celebrate you. Is it Myra? I hope I pronounced that correctly. Thank God that you're still with us, definitely celebrating with you. And I am gonna have Tia close us out in a little bit to celebrate all of the survivors that are with us for today and in our communities as well. So there's a questionnaire that says, post chemo, my hair never grew back right. So now I started locks 6 months ago. Congratulations on starting your lock journey as well. What product is good for locks? Ooh, okay. I try not to give product recommendations. However, I do have a product that I will recommend for you that I know is on the list that we just talked about. So
share it. I want to know. Yes.
All right, so I'm going to share it because I think the products are dope. However, I do want to caution to say, again, your products that you use are going to be different because you are different. So I put the link in the chat. So I'm going to try not to advertise the information, but once we get that list out, Dr. Locks is one of the products that I've used in the past. I don't have locks, but you can use their products on natural hair that is also not locked. And their products are clean, based on the project that we just went over as well. So
clean is good.
Clean is good. It's clean, safer. It's been certified at this point. So we'll post this video after the list comes out. Maybe not. But so just to kind of provide that context. So some of the information is coming. I'm not promoting one product over another, but if you do ask me for my personal opinion, this is my personal opinion. Dr. Williams, do you have any other products that you use? So I heard aloe vera, juice, good old water.
Water is also good. And I would even say go into Target. Target is really good. They have a Black line that they have now, and you can, use any of those resources that we mentioned, like the Detox Me or EWG, and then type in a brand. Sometimes if they're a newer brand, I would say they may not be in their database, but the good thing is that you can take a screenshot of it and upload it to be able to add it to their database so that they can, do a query on it. So I would say, yeah, just look out there on the market and see, what some of those products are. But as we know, in reading labels, the first few ingredients is going to be what it's mostly made up of. And so you do want to look for, natural ingredients like cocoa butter, shea butter, things that are in, the most natural form. And if you can't, as Dr. Teteh said, if you can't pronounce it, then most likely it's something that we probably shouldn't be, using, so there are, other alternatives, that we can look at.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. So I'm just going to make this announcement out loud. Ms. Michelle Moore Bell is, this is a note for all cancer survivors. Please contact her. She's the founding president of Wellness Group, and her email address is in the chat. So hopefully Michelle can tell you a little bit more about the work that she's doing. And Michelle, if you have any information that you want to share with folks that register for this particular event, please feel free to email it to us, and we're happy to share it out as well. So Dr. Williams, anything else? I know it can be so overwhelming. I remember when I was kind of started out this journey, and this, I'm saying my journey, right? So when I started learning about all these chemicals that are in our personal care products that I didn't know about, I actually went home and, similar to Tia, and threw out everything and just started from scratch. Not telling you to do that, but figure out what works for you.
Yes.
What we're saying with all of these screenings is you have to do what's best for you and what's best for your family. But our hope is that you have been informed enough to start somewhere. And so I'm going to have Dr. Williams kind of close us out with any final thoughts about, for those of you that are feeling overwhelmed like I was back in the day, and now that I'm here now, kind of breathing a little bit easier, but still wanting to do more work. Like, tell us a little bit about, just kind of give us a little bit of encouragement about how to start this journey or continue to start, be on this path to safer products for us and our families.
Absolutely. So I love how you said it is a journey, right? So it's a continual process. And so, as you mentioned, going through your cupboards, going through, all of your, makeup bags and hair care products, and looking at it to determine which ones that you can part with, or maybe it might be a gradual, process again, like where you choose to, not to, purchase it, or either, on an irregular basis and not use it so much. And so it's not like you're just, throwing the baby out with the bathwater. And so it can be a gradual, process, not just overnight. And so feeling what's safe for you, to do, because as we know, these hair care products are expensive, right? And especially when you've, grown to love them and you love the results. But I would say that, if there is a serious issue or concern there, that's what I'm saying. I am not a doctor in that realm. You want to consult with, your healthcare provider, and making sure that it's not going to cause more harm than good. So wanted to, make sure that we put that out there. But yeah, just being able to, look at the products and just being, conscientious about what you're using, and, seeing how you can also, make products or use products that are more natural and clean, and adopting those into your, into your routine.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you so much again for saying yes, saying yes to this, and coming on to kind of share your words of wisdom and the amazing work that Black Women for Wellness is doing. I know we didn't jump, we could talk all day, right? Because you guys are doing so much work related to stylists as well in this space. So we'll share some of that information with our individuals that have showed up for this particular session. And then can you kind of drop some of your information in the chat related to
our website? Yes, definitely.
Website. And of course, we'll share this out to folks as well. But if you want to kind of drop that information in the chat, that would be enormously helpful. And then I want to bring on Tia Tomlin Harris, who is a breast cancer overcomer. She always has like a new word every time I talk to her. So she's a thriver, survivor, overcomer. Wanted to bring her back up. We are wanting to just say thank you, Tia, for partnering with us for this screening. This was definitely an idea that you have been a huge supporter of, and we're happy to support you in bringing this to folks. Do you want to just come on in and close us out as we celebrate the survivors, overcomers, and thrivers that are among us, and then we'll call it a night for today.
Absolutely. And Dr. Astrid, I want to just say thank you again for joining us. I mean, this was amazing. Dr. Teteh, thank you again for partnering with us. This has really been on my heart to get this information out into the community. And when I saw the docuseries, I sent the message to you, was like, hey, let's do this. So I'm happy. And I just want to say thank you for everyone who is participating, who has shown up, every week that we've been doing this. So I really want to say thank you. We are giving out gifts to everyone who has participated. Some of you may have already received your gifts. Hopefully you have. But again, for those who have not, we'll be sending those out probably within the next 2 weeks, because I'll be leaving for ASCO in 2 days. But we want to just say, you know, National Survivors Day is on Sunday, and we just want to celebrate anyone who's ever been impacted by this disease. You know, whether you're undergoing treatment, whether you're finished treatment, whether you're metastatic, we don't care. At the point of diagnosis, you are still here, you are still thriving, you are still surviving each and every day. And we want to say kudos to you, congratulations to you for continuously pushing. You know, nobody wants to be in this fight. Nobody wants to have to go through this, but I just want to say, you know, just by you being here tonight is a testament of you wanting to make those changes, you wanting to share this information with other people. So again, we just want to say thank you. Make sure that you, before we close out, make sure that you all sign the e-card. We'll have that link posted one more time in the chat. That is so important. We really want to thank again the producers for giving us access. They broke down that barrier, y'all. So we just want to say thank you so much for giving us access to be able to share this information with you all. And then we also want to say, make sure that you're following all of us on social media. My Style Matters, at My Style Matters, Bench to Community, with your handle.
Bench #2 Community.
Awesome. And Astrid, if you want to share yours, your handle.
Yes, it's BW, so the number, or letter B, W, and then number 4, WLA, for Black Women for Wellness, LA.
Awesome. And then we can get those posted in the chat. And then lastly, please, this is important. The information that we shared is not just for you. It is for the entire community. So make sure that you're posting at least one thing that you learned, not only from tonight's series or episode, but from the entire episode. Be sure to post something on social media, tag us all in what you are sharing, and then hashtag it with Not So Pretty, hashtag with Bench to Community, hashtag with Breast Health Matters. Astrid, you have a hashtag you want to throw in there?
I think those are good.
Okay, all right, just want to make sure. All right, everyone, we want to just say thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll be sending out follow-up communication. We want to get you all's feedback on the entire series. Again, we need this information so that we can continue these types of programs and bringing them to the community. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.